This video was brought to you by the lovely members of my Patreon.
And it's this weird thing where, am I happy that the person I'm interested in is interested in me? Totally sure. Yeah. I love that, whatever. Great. But at the same time, I hate that I feel like it's because of how now I have started to embody desirability in a more typical way. Hey guys, it's Kat, and it's time for another episode of True Tea. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here via another episode of True Tea. You guys are here every single week. We do these videos every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I wanted to thank those of you guys who have made True Tea part of your weekly routine. If you're brand new on this channel, what we like to do here is learn, share, and grow through education and conversation, and this is a conversation segment. True Tea is really all about just sort of having these open, self-reflective conversations where we're just being very real and honest about how we feel, whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't really matter. Either way, it's truthful, it's honest, it's where we are right now. We learn from each other, we grow through each other, and that's what this is. So if you are sort of interested in that kind of thing, I would definitely suggest that you subscribe to this channel so you can get True Tea every single week in your subscription box. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you can get notifications every single time I upload videos onto this channel. So we're going to be having a conversation about desirability, but before we do, I would highly suggest that you run to your kitchen, grab yourself something to drink. Now, I'm being a little bit of a lush today. I'm drinking some goon because, as usual, I am pre-partying before I go somewhere. Some of you guys know that I am a broke bitch. $15 for 32 glasses of wine. It sounds like just a very good financial decision for me. So I'm pre-partying so I don't have to spend a lot of money when I go to the bar. I am on my way to a social, which is what is inspiring this conversation. So, I'm gonna have a little bit of wine, a little bit of goon, darling. And then we're going to hopefully walk into this event, I don't know, affordable, if that makes any sense, if you understand the vibe I'm trying to put down. Anyway, let's take a sip of this wine and let's get into this video. So, I wanted to have a conversation with you guys about desirability because currently in my life, I am experiencing some shit that is kind of running me up the wall. And like a lot of times when I have conversations with you guys, I really want to have these conversations to sort of see if my experiences are similar to yours or if you understand sort of where I'm coming from, because desirability is something that is, I didn't set it up this way, but it is a very large part of my life. And as I start going through different changes physically, I just notice certain things and it's kind of getting to me and I wanted to talk about it. So let's go, right? So I've talked about this in a couple of different videos, but there's been a lot of changes that I've had since moving to Los Angeles. Since moving to LA, I have lost 40 pounds. And that on its own has inspired a lot of changes. The video that I have, called, Why Losing Weight Sucks, I kind of talk about this experience of having these men who were not paying attention to me when I first moved to Los Angeles, upon me losing weight, suddenly being very, very interested. And to be honest with you guys, just to check back in with you guys about losing weight, I'm happy to lose weight. I mean, some people have sent me messages on Instagram and things like that, which, side note, you should follow me on Instagram. Some people have sent me messages on Instagram being like, hey, Kat, I've noticed that you lost a lot of weight. Just want to make sure that you're okay. And the thing is, I am okay. There's a couple of layers to it. A, I'm broke, so I'm not eating out as much as I used to. And B, I just am not living with a partner who may or may not have been a feeder, right? And so just different health changes and just the way that I'm eating, the habits that I have a way better sleep schedule. I'm doing a lot better. So I've lost a lot of weight, right? And the unintended consequence of that has been, I don't know if dysmorphia is the right word, maybe it is, but I have a hard time sometimes recognizing myself when I look at footage of myself, when I look at mirrors. It just is this weird thing. Sometimes when I look at the shadow of myself, because I've never really been this thin. And it's kind of an odd thing for me. And one of the things that I noticed is that, again, there were men who were not attracted to me, who were not interested in me before, who were very now interested in me as I've been losing weight. And one of the things that inspired this conversation is, as you guys can see, you know, my hair suddenly grew magically and I have, you know, straight hair now. And I change my hair, as you guys know, about every 3 or so months, right? The past sort of braids that I had the same color sort of for basically 6 months. And so there was a really, really long period of time where if you met me, that is what I looked like. That is what I am. And, you know, I'll get into this a bit later, but part of my style change is always about sort of challenging myself to go against the things that make me uncomfortable. You guys have now noticed that I'm not wearing glasses. For the longest time, I wore these just gigantic, thick-rimmed glasses, sometimes glasses that would, you know, fall down and push down on my nose a bit, you know. And, you know, these are certain things that I, you know, would wear. And at a certain point in life, I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna, you know, just change so I can get over whatever little insecurity that I have. Now, the interesting thing for me when it comes to this hairstyle particularly, these bangs, this length, whatever, is that for me, it's a hairstyle that I used to have. It's a hairstyle that I had specifically when I was stealth. It's what I understand is probably technically the most flattering on my face. Now, of course, being a Black woman, you know, this idea of this being the most flattering on my face is a little upsetting for me, which is why I sort of went through, and I'm still going through, this whole natural hair journey, which is why I started braiding my hair. Because at one point in time, I had calculated that this is the hairstyle where I look the most attractive. And I wanted to fight against that because it is very Eurocentric. It is very based on, you know, these beauty standards that frankly, I will never be able to embody. And honestly, when it comes to, you know, wigs and things like that, not that this is a wig, this is my hair, obviously, but when it comes to wigs and stuff like that, I feel really kind of dysphoric and uncomfortable wearing them. I'm actually surprised that I've been able to wear this one for so long because, if it was a wig, I'm just saying, because usually I just hate the idea of something that like can be taken off of me, you know, of my person. I just don't like that. That just kind of makes me feel real uncomfortable. And so, yeah, it is kind of an odd feeling for me to adjust to. But one of the things that I notice is, much like me losing weight, when I go into a lot of the events that I go to, there are people who were not interested in me before who are very interested in me now. And obviously for me, that's been kind of unhealthy. And I wanted to kind of acknowledge that and talk about that, because here's how a lot of this stuff has gone for me throughout my life, right? You know, I've always been a person who didn't really like having points of reference, even in my art and things like that. So I always kind of like did my own thing, right? In terms of my styles, especially. And the way that I kind of worked was, when people told me that something looked good, I would wear that out to the very, 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 very end, right? And for me, in so many ways, that was part of survival. A lot of that was connected to passing and things like that. I wanted to look good at all times because, of course, women have to look good at all times. So I would do a lot of stuff in terms of my makeup and my hair and what I would wear and things like that, where if someone told me it looked good, it would really stick in my mind as the thing that I should keep doing in order to appear more attractive. And so what I've been doing in the past couple of years is going against those notions, fighting against those things. So I guess having these experiences bothers me, you know, and it forces me to really question a lot of shit, you know. When people turn to me and say, "You look so good now. Oh my gosh, you look so good. You've lost weight." It brings up all of these, you know, body negative thoughts. It brings up all of these thoughts that I had, that I thought I had gotten over, of self-hatred and fat shaming and just not really loving truly my body, right? It makes me feel like I'm not worthy unless I'm thin, right? A big person does not deserve love, does not deserve to be embraced. And like I said, I have a little bit of dysmorphia. One of the most uncomfortable things for me about losing weight is that my clothes don't fit. That's something that kind of has been really upsetting. You guys will notice that in these videos, I mostly wear these shorts. And go back to like the past couple of True Tea videos and look at what I'm wearing. I'm mostly wearing these shorts. Now, these are shorts that I got from Forever 21, and they are size 2X. They were size 2X when I bought them. I've taken these shorts in 2 times at this point. I've taken them in so far, I mean, you can't really see, but I've taken them in so far that I'm almost at the pocket. I'm like right up against the pocket. There used to be a lot of space between this side seam and this little zipper pocket, but it's like right there now. I've taken these pants in a lot. And you know, it's one of those things that like the feeling of me sitting down and taking things in, like, okay, yes, I love that it fits now. That's a great feeling because I kind of do have a thing about clothes fitting, but it does fuck me up a bit to like look at something that I used to wear that used to fit me very snugly that no longer fits. You know, when I would put these shorts on, sometimes they would slip down, they would fall off. I would be tucking them in, I would be doing all this different stuff. And of course for, you know, a sort of like fake leather, sexy kind of look, that's not what you want. You want these to be tight fitting and sexy, right? You want them to, you know, show your ass off or whatever, which they do, but I won't show you guys that because I don't want to be demonetized. But you know what I mean? Like that's the look, right? And so obviously, I felt like I had to change them, but just the amount of fabric that I cut off to take these in, it fucks with my head because again, these were things that used to fit me very well, right? Whenever I change my hair, people always feel the need to give me their opinion. Now I'm about to go to this event. It's a BDSM social. And you know, there's so much to unpack about these certain social spaces that I interact with. Because like I say in almost every video, very involved in the BDSM community, very involved in the sex positive community, very involved in the polyamory community, very involved in the burner community, right? All of these communities, whether they would like to admit it or not, whether they like to have a front-facing image of this or not, are very, very, very shallow. They're incredibly fucking shallow. Incredibly. And I guess part of what I'm experiencing since moving to LA is when I first moved here, I was very solidly outside of what was socially acceptable as desirable. As I've lost weight, as I've changed my hair, as I've done different things to my body that, side note, I do for myself, I have moved closer and closer and closer to desirability. And honestly, that kind of fucks with my head a little bit, you know? When I know that I'm gonna walk into this BDSM social tonight and everyone's gonna talk about how pretty my hair looks and wow, your hair looks pretty this way, or oh, I definitely prefer it like this. Right? Your hair looks so good now. You know, whereas before they were complimenting my braids and things like that. Now it will be, you know what, I like the other style, but this looks so much better on you, which I've already heard. I get so many messages from my friends and from, you know, men that I'm interested in or who are interested in me, who have been doing nothing but sending me endless emails and messages about how good my hair looks, how much they like my hair like this. And this is a damn wig. I mean, it's not a wig, but let's just say for demonstrational purposes, it's a wig. This is a fucking wig. This is not part of my body. This is not me. And what is communicated to me in a very subtle way is that the things that are natural to me are not attractive. So what do I have to now do? Of course, I'm not the same person who used to listen to, you know, these people compliment me and then internalize that, and now I'm doing everything based on that. Of course, I'm not there anymore, but there's a little bit of thread of that still there. People have a dramatically different reaction to me now. One of the most interesting things that I've noticed is that Black men are suddenly now interested in me. Whereas before I would go to a bar or a club, and if you're a Black girl, listen, I think we've experienced this. Black men would not pay attention to me. I would try to get their attention. They'd be too busy trying to get a white girl's attention. Now, black men not only speak to me more politely, but are actively interested in me in a way that they weren't when I had my natural hair or I had my braids out, right? And that fucks with my head too, because obviously I have the same face. I am the same person. Everything down here is the same, right? But it's the hair that just changes people's perspective of me. And obviously this sort of going towards a more Eurocentric hairstyle that's now being celebrated, it does fuck with my head as somebody who's worked. I used to relax and bleach my hair within days of each other. I used to walk around with damaged hair and act like that's just, ooh girl, I don't know what to tell you. I have good hair. It just is what it is. Like, you know, I used to relax the shit out of my hair. And it's taken me years to actually look at straight hair on myself and see it as like masculinizing or see it as something that isn't feminine. I've gotten to the point where I see wavy curly hair as feminine and straight hair is not quite, which is why even with this wig, it's a little wavy. I did that on purpose. I did, some wrap lotion. I put some braids in it and I kind of like unbraided it. And this is what I got. It's kind of a more, even if this is not what the natural texture of this hair look is, it kind of gives a little bit of like a kink, a little bit of that. And because I just feel like that looks more feminine. That is what I have landed on seeing as the most attractive on me. But what I'm being told through various different, sources, especially in these spaces, is that I just look better when I look the least like myself. And that's something that I have a really hard time digesting it, like I said, at a certain point in time, determined that this was the best hairstyle for me. It hides my hairline. It hides my forehead. It's a good hair shape for my face shape. When my hair kind of goes up, it accentuates my kind of heart-shaped face. This sort of, in a weird way, contours it and makes it look very feminine. And I'm very aware of that, but I'm afraid of having to live up to that, right? And obviously, look, I'm a Virgo. I'm going to overthink shit. It's just going to be who I am. But you know what? I just don't, I can't ignore that I had those feelings and thoughts about myself. Because when I was younger, I would say that about this hairstyle, and that I was prettier when I was thinner, and that this and that. I had all these thoughts that I had worked past, right? But now, as I lose weight, as I change my hairstyle, I just suddenly am now seeing these people find me more attractive. And the thing about being in these spaces too is that there definitely is some degree of like pretty privilege, right? In these sex positive spaces, I've seen women who maybe aren't typically considered attractive by very shallow notions be rejected in spaces where I'm welcomed, right? And that's kind of shitty. I mean, for the most part, when I go out and I'm socializing, I'm trying to escape. I'm trying to have a good time. I'm not really trying to overthink shit as I am in this video, so I will continue to go somewhere where that's kind of the case, which drag me if that's a bad thing, right? At the same time, it does make me think about how my beauty is so fleeting and how it's so shallow and what happens when I don't look like that anymore. I mean, in the BDSM community, we see it all the time. You've got these Dommy McDomersons who are there's like this almost revolving door of these young 20-somethings, right? Who are thin, usually, who are the kind of girl that they can take photos with. And they're always revolving these women because at a certain point, some of these women do have expiration dates, right? Especially when I have braids, especially when I have bangs rather, people tend to think I'm much younger than I actually am. That was definitely why way back when I was wearing them, because I looked way younger than I actually was, right? And I think all of us know that bangs kind of do that to a lot of us, right? And so now I'm definitely being read as younger, even though I'm not. Of course, if I talk, you can tell that I'm not, little 22-year-old. But I sense that. I sense that, and I sense how excited people get when they think I'm a young person. And that just, that's a whole other conversation to unpack, right? But yeah, I've been having a hard time with it. Give you an example, because this is really where it all kind of came down for me. So I go to this event. It's like this big orgy, basically, but it's like a very community-based orgy kind of situation. Hard to explain for people who are vanillas and our side of it. It's not just an orgy. It's like performances. It's conversations. It's a lot of really fun stuff. It's a great night, right? I'm trying to be vague, but I feel like if you know anything about sex-positive communities, I feel like you know about this event, but I won't go further into that. I love this event, but it's also an event where you're very deliberate about, like, how to say this? This is definitely an event where a lot of pretty people are. This is definitely an event where your appearance is important, right? And that's a vibe you get in almost all of these spaces. Even as I started going back to swinger parties, right? There's like that layer of the swinger community that's like, oh yeah, everyone can come as long as you pay, right? And then there's that layer of, if you're hot, you're invited, right? If we're attracted to you, you can come, right? And I've been invited to those like fancy Hollywood Hills, only hot people can come sort of parties, right? I was talking to this one guy who was a swinger, and we were flirting, and I was interested in him. And he said to me, he's a bodybuilder, he said to me directly that he doesn't really associate with ugly people. And it's like, I know that like people, I know living in LA, this attitude isn't totally surprising, but it's a little weird for me to suddenly now be like welcomed into spaces where I hear people say shit like that, right? A lot of these sort of private swinger things, you have to send a photo of yourself. They want to make sure that you're hot and before they invite you, and that's presented a whole list of complications. There's one place I go regularly, which, side note, when I talk about going to swinger events, I usually go alone, and I'm usually there because I like the people and I like to talk and I like people watching, and people watching in a swinger club is choice, right? It is really choice, right? I don't really jump in or do things. I do at this party that I mentioned, the sort of fancy, there's a fun thing to do. I do, but that's kind of because I know people. Oh, I'm realizing how far off the topic I got. But there's this one party that I go to where trans women are technically not allowed to be there. They're technically not allowed to be there. But, I didn't know this before, but I hit up the owner of the party because I wasn't sure, because a lot of spaces are like that where they're like, we don't really want trans people here. Hit up the owner, and, after I told him I was trans, the owner was like, oh, send me some pictures of yourself, right? Send me some pictures of you. And I sent him pictures of me, right? And because of my pictures and because of what I looked like, I am now welcome to come to this party. Now, there are various other trans people who don't, I guess, look how I do, who, if they were to do the same thing, would be denied. No, we can't have you at this party for this, and this reason. And like I said, I do kind of feel bad about that, but at the same time, I do go to these things to escape and not to overthink a lot of the political shit that I think about all the time. So I don't necessarily always keep that in mind, but I've definitely noticed that even in situations where people are very aware of my transness, I'm given a leeway that other people aren't in these sort of very appearance-centric spaces. And it just, I don't know, like, it does sort of fuck with me because, again, and I said this in my video about why I don't care if you think I'm cute. You guys can watch that video right here. I'm somebody who I am still processing and sort of digesting why my appearance is something that I'm supposed to value. Why how I look is something that is supposed to make or break me. I like how I look. I think I'm pretty. I think I'm cute or whatever. But I don't think that that's always going to be the case. And I want for the words I'm saying here on this channel and the words that I'm writing down to paper, right? I want those to be the things that I'm known for, not my appearance, I hate when sometimes I get these comments from people that are like, oh, you know what? I disagree with everything you're saying, but I love that lipstick shade. Or I disagree with everything you're saying, but your hair is really cute. I hate that because it's just like, you don't actually care about me. And I'm still sort of trying to digest why my appearance is something that I should care about or value, right? I'm still thinking about that. Not because I don't understand why people value appearance, but because I feel very uncomfortable with gamifying and attributing value to what I look like. It just makes me incredibly uncomfortable, which is why I don't do a lot of like sponsorship things that are based on my appearance. It just makes me feel very uncomfortable to be sold in that way. It really, 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 really does, right? So I have that discomfort. I've got that sort of like weirdness. And obviously it's amplified by these spaces. Now, I didn't finish my story about this party that's really fancy and has all these other things, right? But I will tell you this now. So when I went to this party, I honestly was very nervous. One of my partners and I, we recently decided to fluid bond, which was a big deal for me. And he was going to be there with his wife, who I love. We all get along. It's all great. It's all awesome. In fact, I might introduce them to my partner soon. But yeah, we all get along. It's all great. But that kind of created like this nervousness. And I'm unfortunately the kind of person where if I start a night out with negativity, and then I add alcohol over it, I pour alcohol over the negativity, it just festers and boils and gets really out there, right? So the night started with the person I was going with going to this pre-party without me, right? Which made me kind of upset. Then my partner was going to be there, and I was nervous about that because I'd never been to one of these sort of things with a partner. Even though we weren't each other's dates, he was going to be there, and I was really nervous about that. Then there are going to be several different people that I'm involved in. And now here's the thing, okay? This is the big thing that really bothers me about some of these events for me, right? It has really nothing to do with the actual event, it has more to do with me, right? I'm very accustomed to people finding me attractive. I know that I feel like we just keep saying that, but I'm very accustomed to people finding me attractive. Now, for me, in a way, there's a bit of anxiety that I get with that because, first of all, a lot of times people find me attractive, they don't know that I'm trans. And so I'm kind of starting from that position of this person finds me attractive, but they don't know that I'm trans, so how do I get out of it? So I've been in a lot of situations where I oblige somebody or entertain the conversation in order to get to a point where I can leave in a very graceful way, and then it doesn't go anywhere, right? There's that kind of anxiety that I have, right? Then also, I've talked about this before, but maybe we'll do a whole video about it. I'm miserable at receiving compliments. And it's probably because of my trauma. I know that's what it is. Because I've been through so many situations where people have sold me the world, told me that I was the prettiest girl in the room, told me that I was amazing, and then treated me like shit. And so for me, I don't really believe people when they compliment me. I don't really believe people, right? And so even when someone, says, oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous, you're so beautiful, da-da-da-da-da, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And also, here's where my mind goes as well, right? There are some cis people who are very aware of, I guess, the sort of, how to say this politely. There are some trans women who are very, 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 very vain. Very vain, right? And there's a lot of cis people who are aware of that, and because of that, they compliment a trans person maybe a little bit more, right? And if it's not the vanity, oftentimes it's like they're trying to be a good ally by telling you that you're beautiful, by telling you that you're cute and that you look great in that dress. You probably look like a mess, but they know that you're trying and that's brave of you. And so they're going to tell you that you look amazing, that you look beautiful, that you look great, right? I've talked about this previously in other videos, but the area where this is really funny for me is when cis women do it. And then when they notice that men are actually attracted to me, that you can just sort of see the like compliment that they gave you, kind of like, ooh, they're giving it to you for charity. They didn't actually think you were attractive, but it turns out these men do. That's a whole other conversation. Just watch this other video I made about that. But anyway, so I don't know how to respond to compliments. But of course, at these events, I'm usually half naked. And these are the sort of events where if you don't dress up or try to dress up, you feel very left out. So I've obviously put, intention into my appearance and things like that. And so all night long, it's people compliment me. And of course, the previous 2 events, I had my braids, and there are a lot of people who were complimenting my hair. Now, there was one guy there who is this dom that I've had a bit of a crush on for a bit. He's very, 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 very handsome. He just has like, I don't know, just has a, like that, like, I can tell he's very good at what he does. Let's just put it that way. And we actually matched on a dating site once. And it was really weird because initially I didn't recognize him, but then I did. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I just said all of these weird things. And we just had this really weird conversation that didn't go anywhere. And it's awkward because obviously he's a person that I see at BDSM events all the time. And so it was kind of weird that we didn't continue the conversation. And so I interpreted it as he's not interested, right? So at this event, I walk up to him and I'm saying hi to him and I'm being polite, and he like looks over at me and he's like, whoa, like you look fucking hot. Like, and I could tell that he meant it. It wasn't like a polite thing. There are certain things people say to me in the depending on the subtext where I'm like, oh yeah, he actually means it. He actually means it. And I could tell that he was actually attracted to me. He was busy at the time. We had a bit of a conversation. He told me that he was polysaturated and things like that. And that's the reason why this, and that. But I could just tell that he was drastically more attracted to me now with this hair and being thinner, because he met me 2 years ago at this BDSM convention that I go to sometimes, where I was bigger and I had different hair. I had, that big Bernadette wig that I wear all the time. And I, was not as thin as I am now. And back then I didn't get the sense at all that he was interested or attracted to me. I was kind of flirting with him, but he wasn't really picking up it at all. But now he clearly is interested. I mean, obviously he's polysaturated, so who knows where that's going to go. But, we had a very deliberate conversation, and he said, hey, if you're ever at an event and you want a spanking, I'm willing to give it to you. And, it's this weird thing where, am I happy that the person I'm interested in is interested in me? Totally sure. Yeah. I love that, whatever. Great. But at the same time, I hate that I feel like it's because of how now I have started to embody desirability in a more typical way. That's something that I have a hard time dealing with, right? So I'm going to this event tonight, and at these events, it's a lot of, like, I literally spend, I know this doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world, but it's really bad if you're like me and you have a hard time hearing compliments. I literally spend the vast majority of this particular event walking around, saying hi to people, and the whole crowd being like, oh my God, yeah, you look so hot, you look so sexy, and just complimenting. And I can't help but interpret that as facetious. I've learned not to visibly express that reaction, to just nod and say thank you, but I can't help but interpret it as facetious. In some people's case, it's the fact that they say that to me at every single event. They say that they're attracted to me, but they never pursue anything with me. So it's just kind of this sort of show that they do. It's just this sort of performance that they do. And I would rather not experience that. I want people to compliment me if they actually mean it. If a guy's flirting with me and he says that I'm hot and he says that he would do this, I would like for you to actually show up, I don't like the fake shit, right? Anyway, so yeah, that's a big, big point of frustration for me, is kind of how I've been moving into desirability more. And it's like, I know that this sounds like I'm complaining about being hot. I know that's what this sounds like. But it's more about how I have learned to find beauty in myself independent of other people's validation. And now I'm noticing a shift in the way that people are treating me because I look different. Because maybe I look more socially acceptably attractive. And that definitely plays with my head. So I wanted to ask you guys if you've ever experienced something similar, because I have a really hard time digesting this. I definitely want to hear from Black women if you notice a difference in the way that men treat you based on your hairstyle. I've not worn hair like this, straight hair, in a very long time. Usually if I've worn a wig, it's been a wavy wig. I haven't had bangs in really since the early 2000s, if we're being honest. I've wanted bangs for a really long time, but I just haven't given myself bangs, right? So yeah, I guess I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm wondering how you guys feel and what your guys' reactions have been to that, if you've experienced that. I definitely want to hear from women if you've experienced that. I want to hear from men. I want to hear from trans people, when it comes to maybe you moving into passability a bit more, if you notice a difference. I want to hear from y'all, because this is something that I'm having a hard time digesting. Obviously, it's a positive thing for people to find me attractive. Obviously, it's a positive thing for people to compliment me and for me to, have slightly more pretty privilege than I had before. But at the same time, it stinks for me because I don't want to internalize these things. I don't want to internalize that I'm more pretty when I'm thinner and I look better with straight hair. It just it's not good for me mentally. So anyway, I talked forever in this video. If you made it through this entire video, I want you to post this emoji in the comment section below. Please do that. You guys know what to do. I love everybody who comes through with the emojis every single week. You guys are the real ones, so thank you so much. And anyway, I will see you guys next week. Right now, you are looking at 2 videos that you can watch if you would like to personally continue to watch True Tea on this YouTube channel. And also in the corner, there are various ways that you can send me a tip if that's something that you're interested in. You don't have to be, but you know what? I'm going through a move right now and I could really use extra help. So anyway, on that note, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.